Hey, it's Lauren. Thank you so much for listening to The Afterlight. Enjoy the episode. This episode has been brought to you by the Raw Spirit Team. Building a business can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. We teach small and medium-sized businesses strategies for building a profitable, successful, stress-free business and life. Because guess what? You are more than your business. Through one-on-one training, online courses, and monthly guest experts, the Spirit Team is built on the principle of building each other up in business and in spirit. Try it for 14 days for free. Just head to rawconsulting.com and check out the Raw Spirit Team. All right, I'm Lauren Grace, host of The Afterlight. Welcome to the show. My guest today is Pamela Sommers. Pamela is an international award-winning and best-selling author. She's helped many with her best-selling motivational personal growth books, Life Lessons from a 40-something, For the Best Start in Life, Building Castles in the Sky, How to Make Your Dreams Come True, Fabulously You, Live a Life You Love. Her work has been featured in Success Magazine, Thrive Global, HuffPost, The Independent, Metro UK, House of Coco, LadyBossBlogger, and many more. She also helps women look amazing and feel fabulous as the founder of a multi-award-winning online jewelry and accessories boutique called SommerSparkle. Pamela has joined me today to talk about working with the angels, using angel and tarot cards as tools in her everyday life, connecting with spirit, and more. Welcome to the show, Pamela.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for having me.
So we might need to talk jewelry off the call. Not right now. That's not what this show is about. But I probably, like many other spiritual people who just love shiny things.
Yes,
Anyway, I'm so happy to have you on the show. I know already, just from speaking with you briefly, that you have so much wisdom to give. You've had so many interesting stories and experiences to share. So I'm really, just wanting to get right into it. But can you maybe tell me a little bit about how your spiritual journey sort of initially started? And is there more than the physical world that we know?
Right. I mean, it's really, it's quite tough to actually pinpoint when it started. I think all my life there's been something extra there, shall we say. Even as a child, I remember feeling spiritual presence in the home that we lived. I remember living in one particular home and we would hear things after midnight, after the stroke of midnight. I remember my mother, she used to invite relatives around, for example, when they'd hear things. For example, they would hear, in England, there used to be like a horse, I suppose if you say like a horse and carriage, pull up to, they'd like a rag and bone man, and after midnight, they would hear outside, they would literally hear horses and an old man shouting out rag and bone, rag and bone. And then things would happen. For example, like the coat rack would fall down and things like that. So she would really, it all stemmed from then. And obviously I was a child then, so I'd be listening at the top of the stairs when I'm supposed to be in bed and things like that. So I think that's probably when it first started out. And I would hear the things she would say, because my mother was a nurse and she used to do regular night shifts. So I would hear the things she says, like her experiences. For example, I remember her saying like she had to do a shortcut through a graveyard one time, but she was trying to pluck up the courage to do that. And but then she saw a man with a dog there, and she thought, oh, it's okay, I'm not alone, so I'll be all right. I'll go through this graveyard shortcut. They'd be fine. So anyway, so she followed the man, feeling reassured and everything. And then when she got to the end of the other exit, she pulled out the man and the dog both vanished right in front of her. And it was actually only recently last year when I happened to mention this story to someone, and they said, "Oh yeah, that's historical, that is." And he actually said to me, "That's in the papers and everything about the man. He was actually in charge of the graveyard. He was like a
Wow.
caretaker, and he was known for being the man and the dog in that area." And I
Oh,
got goosebumps, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh my God, oh
It's
my God,
total
this matches up
validation.
completely to what my mother said."
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it all started from there. Then all of a sudden I started to experience my own things. For example, I would at a young age, I know that there was a lady who lived next door, and she was quite an elderly lady. And then after, just as she was passing, actually, I heard 3 knocks, and I thought, I'm sure I can hear 3 knocks. I can hear 3 knocks. And then afterwards, I remember sort of seeing an elderly lady in her dressing gown. And I remember thinking, I could see that a lady. Why am I seeing a lady sitting in my bedroom? And then I found out that she had died, and
Wow.
just things like that. But I kind of brushed them aside, really. And although I felt presence and stuff, I just thought, oh, maybe children's imagination, things like that. And then later on, I started experiencing my own things. I was always interested in the tarot card and things, especially when I was a young adult, maybe at the age
Yeah.
of about 16.
Yeah.
There was all the fascination, and my group of friends were all
Yeah.
into the same kind of thing. So I think they used to nickname us like witches and things like that
Yeah.
at the school and stuff like that, because we just happened to we're just really like
Yeah.
fascinated by things like that. And my friend used to see spirits. She used to see from the Victorian age. She used to see a girl and things like that. So we'll start, and then we used to like dabble with tarot cards and things like that. And then I had tarot readings by then, but I never actually done it then. But every time I had a tarot reading, they said, you've got the gift, you can do this. And they just picked these things up for me. And I was like, and I thought, I kind of felt like I had it, but I didn't, maybe he didn't have the
Yeah.
confidence to do it. And then I started doing it, and I started, finding out lots of coincidences. For example, I would say, oh, someone's pregnant. And they were like, pardon me? Like, no, I don't think so. I said, I think so. I think so. And then I find out that it happened to be true, that I was right,
Yeah.
and just things like that. And just stuff like that. So then it grew from then, and so I practiced more, and then I always sort of listened to my intuition. I still do. I just
Yeah.
always follow my intuition, whatever feels right. Like that voice
Yeah.
in your head will tell you. And sometimes I think maybe you need to practice in getting that voice at first,
Yeah.
being open to it. I think the voice is always there, but it depends if you're open to listening and let it in. I mean, it's the same with angels. I think they're all like angels that are around you waiting to help you, a bit like on standby, but you have to like invite them into your life and welcome them in. And and if you don't, there's a moment you don't want to, then just politely say no, not today, or something
Good
like that.
today. Thank you.
I think they're
Yeah.
very polite. I mean, even things like I would hear knocks on the door, like on the bedroom door or something like that, like knocking. That polite spirit guides, polite angels, if you like. I'll say yes or no, not today, I'm too tired, or something like that. But I definitely always sort of had this experience, and I thought, oh my God, does anybody else
Yeah.
have this? And it's not really until you sort of dig deeper and you find out actually
Yeah.
other people do as well. But I think everybody has an element of ability. It all depends if you let it in
Develop
and
it.
you want to allow it in and
Yeah.
grow it. I think everyone has to some level. Whether they admit it
Yeah,
or not,
there's
that's
so
another
many
thing.
things that you've brought up that I want to mention. So I think a little bit later in the hour, let's go into talking a bit more about listening to your intuition and whether or not you have any tips or tricks for our listener at home as to how they can do that. I also want to talk to you, a bit more about asking for help and whether there's a way that we need to do that. But I guess before that, I just find it really interesting how you had these experiences where you were younger that to me would have been maybe scary for a lot of people, but you speak it in a way that it just seemed to be very just normal and not at all not scary. You know what I mean? Why do you
Yeah.
think that is? Do you think you were just comforted by the fact that your mother was also, you know, connected in this way? And so it wasn't ever like
Mm,
a foreign
mm,
thing in your home. And I know obviously England and Scotland, like the UK, is very well known for, you know, it's supernatural or spiritual kind of,
mm.
you know, presence.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, it doesn't. I mean, there have been times when I've been scared, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I'm really scared. I don't want." Like, for example, um, I wouldn't really
Yeah.
watch horror films because, like, really, I'm not really a big lover of horror films because the thing is, things happen. In like even in my house that I live in, things happen. The house. I know it might sound silly, but the house lets me know that he doesn't like horror films. For example, my partner would watch a horror film downstairs, for example. Then all of a sudden, he'd hear. This is going to sound really crazy. My mum has passed now, by the way, and at one time it was around Christmas, and my mum used to collect bells, and he was watching this horror film, and then all of a sudden, just like after midnight, he'd hear bells ringing, like, and it was so funny. Like, he was just jumped out of his skin, you know, like, what, you know, and he'd hear the bells, and I think, oh, that's my mum. And he'd like, the house doesn't like horror films, so I wouldn't advise it because it really does play up. It will let you know, like, you suddenly hear knocks and you'll hear sounds. I can't really explain it, but you know, you would feel that the house doesn't like horror films, for example. So that there are bits and pieces I wouldn't
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
cross, you know, if you know what I mean. I think you sort of have to know your
Yeah.
limitations, your boundaries too. For a long time, I didn't want to see
Yeah.
spirits. I didn't want to. I was happy hearing them and feeling them, but I wasn't
Yeah.
ready to see them. And but my son did see, you know, he could always see spirits and things. So, and actually, it wasn't until he started seeing them more regularly than I thought, oh, actually, okay, maybe I'm
Wow.
ready to see them now.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I wasn't. And I think just let
Yeah.
them know that you're not, because I don't think they want to be anywhere you don't,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're not ready.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to,
Yeah,
because they're there to help
exactly.
you. And
Yeah. And the
if you're
more that
not ready,
you know, that you
yeah.
delve into this work and you like, not you in particular, but you know, the, the you and the bigger you, the you in general, you know,
Mm.
you kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
realize
yeah.
that it's fueled by love, and it's fueled by truth, and it's fueled by, you know, letting you know that you're not
Yeah.
alone, and you know that there's support and guidance for
Mm.
you. And so that wouldn't want to be, you know, presented to you in any other way than what's accessible to what you're open to, I think. Yeah. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, before we moved to our house, I wanted to know, I know this is going to sound crazy, but you know, when you see the map or where you live, I wanted to research if there was any burial grounds or whatever was
Yeah.
nearby and things like that. And I saw on the map that there was one, but I thought, oh, that's further away, so it wouldn't be too intrusive or anything like that. But anyway, so we moved into our home. It was just a perfect home. And which I think I attracted from law of attraction, actually, our
Love
home,
that.
perfect home. And and but anyway, it's near an old people's
Oh,
home,
right.
residential home. And
I get
yeah,
where you're
and
going with
what I
this.
didn't know, yeah. So at night time, I can actually hear, um, I can hear like elderly, like I can hear different
Wow.
accents. I can hear, older people. Like the other day, there was an older a gentleman, and I can hear all the different accents. Like I'd hear a Cockney accent, I'd hear an Essex accent, I'd hear a very well spoken London accent, and I can hear them all. And it's like they're having it's like party time at my house type thing. And I'm trying to sleep at night, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I'm not dreaming this. So I'm like opening my eyes and thinking, hang on a minute, I didn't dream this. This happened, and it's so funny. But then if I ask them politely, not tonight or something,
Okay.
I
I was
won't hear
going to ask
them.
you about
But yeah, it's like
I was going
party
to ask you
time.
about,
It's
you know,
amazing.
boundaries, because if you're having these experiences, like number one, if you are let's say you're entertaining people. Let's say you have friends over and you're having a conversation, but then you're also hearing these other things. Like, to me, that would be distracting. And, no offense, but you might look a little bit batty if you were also entertaining these other conversations. Like, I'm sure your friends know you, so it's like, okay, but right, in general. So are there boundaries that you do put up? Is asking just enough, or do you have to invite in also? Or yeah, how does that kind of look?
I would say, first of all, I ground. I think it's very important to ground. There's certainly, like, to protect yourself, because like, if you're like a vessel for like spirits, they will just want to automatically all come through, because they are trying to reach their loved ones at the end of the day, or they've got messages to share and things like that. So in a way, it's about like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghosts or something, if you like, where it's like, if you like, so you have to sort of really
set your limitations,
like ground and protect that. Yeah. And I had my little bubble, say golden light and protective energy. And literally, I just say, I will kind of let them know when I'm open for it or when I'm not as well. And I think they're very respectful of that. But you sort of have to know your own mind, like your own limitations as well, because it can be really exhausting and draining your energy if you don't take these like measures to protect yourself, because you need your rest too, because if you don't have your rest, you're not going to be able to be of service to others and do the thing you're here for. So I think they're very respectful of that. But as I said, I suppose, if you like, my circle of people sort of know me, and a lot of them are intuitive themselves, because they will say, hang on a minute, did you hear something? So it's quite interesting. But it's almost like you've got this keys to a secret world that no one else has, if you know what I mean.
Because so beautifully,
So I think, if anything, I think you're blessed if you have, when you are open to these, you're actually blessed, because it's like a treasure trove of like I said, a hidden world where no one else knows, if they don't know this, and if they're not open to it. I know
blessed. You kind of talked about different gifts that you've had, like you've talked about being clairaudient and clairsentient. Are you also clairvoyant? So AKA, like, you can see spirit now? Has that developed? You said before you weren't really open to that, and now that's
I wasn't really open. Now I've started seeing them. Now I'm feeling okay, and I think it's thanks to my son, really, that he's been seeing them. And then I sort of, at first I was like, no, well, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them. Actually, okay, maybe I'm open to little bit by little bit. So I'll see, I think I'll see in the corner of my eye something, and I might see something dash across, or like orbs and things like that. And when we were on holiday in Egypt, saw a lady, and that was quite another story. Because it's like, wherever I travel, they seem to be attracted. I don't know. It just happens to be. I don't know if it's a coincidence or what.
Yeah, well, your light is bright, right? So if your light is bright and you're on a certain frequency, then you're kind of like this magnet, and everyone's going, "How you doing?" Hey girl, how you doing?
Exactly. Well, you need to speak to it. And I'm far away on holiday in Egypt now, but then of course Egypt is steeped in history, and that's what I mean. That's where tarot started and everything. So there's all presences there as well. So so that was quite interesting. A lady popping up there, all dressed in black, and she was having fun and games in the hotel room. It's so funny. I mean, thinking about it now, it could be a film. Really, it was really funny, but like a funny film. I mean, things like I'd be in the bathroom, and then all of a sudden I'd hear like knocks, when they'll get faster and faster and faster, and then all of a sudden the bathroom door would just swing open, and I'll just scream, because I'll be not expecting this. And then the lights, because I'll be like, that was when I was on my own there, and then I'll scream my head off, and then like, because I don't expect that. I'm all right if I'm at home, I can expect it, but if you're somewhere else, you just don't expect it, And then things like the lights, going crazy like lightning, you know, off and on, and obviously electricity really does set them off and stuff like that. And then when you call the hotel people to come and have a look, of course they can't find anything
Yeah,
wrong.
of
They said,
course.
I don't know what you mean, it's fine, it's perfect, everything's fine, there was nothing like that.
I
So
really
funny
want to
things like
know, I
that.
guess, a little bit about how you talk to your son about this, if you don't mind, if we could talk about that. Because when you're having these alarming experiences, these beautiful, wonderful experiences, I'm sure as well, you know, was it normal for him to see spirit and to kind of come into that world almost like it was for you?
Yeah, he seemed really natural with it all. I mean, really natural. Like he would say, for example, we'd be doing something everyday stuff, and then he'd suddenly say, "Oh, I've got this message," and he'll say this message, "Tell so and so not to do that," or things like that, and he'll, you know, he'll almost like get premonitions almost. So he's very gifted in that way, um, and us, you know, listening to him. So I don't know, he's always been really natural, things like that. I mean, ever since he was like, even when he was like a baby or like, you know, early toddler years, you know, like children seem to
Yeah.
be very open
Yeah.
to this naturally. He'd be like gazing at a plant and laughing and giggling with this plant, and I'd be like, wait, he walk into a room thinking, well, you know, oh my God, like my hair was dead on end, thinking, oh my God, what's he
Yeah.
doing? And I remember we lived in Hainault back then, and Hainault is steeped with like witches
Yeah.
stories and things like that area. So that was interesting. So he's naturally always had this thing. So probably even more natural than me, really, in
Yeah.
that sense. But I mean, but then my grandmother and also my great grandmother used to see spirits, and my grandmother used to tell me things that used to happen and stuff like that. So it seemed quite natural in that sense. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you've inherited
Yeah.
it.
How old is
So
he?
it's just part of, oh, he's grown up now. He's
Oh, wow.
just turned
So was
25
he
now.
able to
So
keep
yeah,
that
he's all grown up
gift?
now. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
'Cause
And he's keen to grow it,
yeah, that's
expand on
so
it as
awesome
well.
because, you
So
know,
yeah.
sometimes you hear these stories of children and especially people who have, you know, even just older from their experiences, how they block this stuff out and then it's harder for them to get the gift back. But that's such a
Mm,
cool thing for him to have been able to embrace that and to continue to live that. Yeah.
yeah. He's really fascinated by it, and now he started doing tarot cards as well,
Yeah.
tarot readings, things like that. So he's really tapping into it.
Let's talk a
But
little bit
yeah,
about angel cards and tarot cards. I know that you use them as tools in your life. I think that, you know, I used to read angel cards and tarot cards as well, and I still do angel cards. I find it difficult with tarot if I get like an upside down card that's swords or something like that.
oh
I
yeah,
can't read.
yeah,
So I can't read tarot at
yeah,
all anymore.
yeah.
I know one time my friend said you shouldn't read tarot for yourself, like somebody else should interpret it for you. But you know, can you talk a little bit about, you know, how you use these as tools in your life and yeah, I guess how you
Mm,
can
yeah,
discern like to see the positive in things when there's like warnings or anything like that?
yeah. Well, someone said to me that there are never any bad cards with tarot. They're only they're only there to help. Every card there is to help and guide you. So ever since I started looking at it that way, I think that's helped a lot.
Tools,
They're
yeah.
just tools to help guide you where you're at. Because obviously, you the future is
Yeah,
always
because of free
changeable.
will.
So it's up to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can choose to see a specific card one way, and then but then even if you think something is bad, you can do
Yeah.
something about it. It's like just a pre-warning that this could happen if you leave it as it is. But how about you doing something
Yeah.
different? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To change that. So if you look at it in that way, it can be empowering. Um, you know. So like I used to be, I never used to like the death
Mm.
card the devil card, things like that, and the tower as well, and a piece like that. But then I see it like death. Actually, now I embrace that now, because I think that that's just like basically change, embrace change, rebirth, a chance to start again. It's actually quite
like a cleansing card. That's right.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, a good way to start again. A tower card can seem like a catastrophe, but then, okay, what can you do to either change this so it's not such a big thing, or looking at a different way? What can you do to influence this? Or if it is something that is about to fall apart, make a new plan. Make a backup plan. Put different plans in motion. So I think it's always tools to guide you. But like sometimes, obviously, if it's someone else doing something, that's a bit tough. Like if you think like someone's like a betrayal or something, all you can do is control yourself and what you do and how you feel about it and what things you can do. So maybe you can take extra measures to like prepare, like self-love, think about, build upon the qualities that you have, what you've got going through for you. So it gives you a chance to protect that. If anything, you sort of are aware that that might happen, or that person's not exactly being sincere. But so you can start maybe letting go and just focusing on yourself more, and putting good things into your world, as opposed to relying on the other person, for example, things like that. So use it as a tool to help.
And you know what I was thinking about when you were saying that, it kind of goes hand in hand with what you talked about at the beginning of the show, which is about the law of attraction, because the law of attraction has a lot to do with the fact that, what you're putting out is also what you're attracting. So if you decide to, get maybe a card like that, or not decide, but if you get a card like that, and then you decide, all right, I'm going to nurture myself. I'm going to do self-love. I'm going to reach out to friends and ask for support. I'm going to take time to have a salt bath or do my cleansing or whatever. Then it could minimize the impact of that as well, because that's what you're putting out into the world. I like that. Do you use tarot cards kind of to almost, I don't know, like reinforce your intuition, or give you that additional validation, or
Yes, especially if you're making a decision, for example. I reckon sometimes the tarot cards is like will tell you what's already there, and a lot of the times it's telling you what you already know.
Exactly.
It's just like a confirmation in a way, I think, but it's like seeing it for some reason makes it more real. You already know it. I think you already know a lot of stuff, but it's just seeing it, or sometimes hearing it from someone else sort of validates that. And sometimes I use it like a compass to see where I'm at, that I'm on the right track.
Like a foreshadowing for where you're headed, a couple of months down the road or something. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Do you, how have you learned to develop your intuition? Because I think that sometimes it's actually funny, because at the beginning of the show, you talked about your intuition, like when you have that voice in your head. And I did want to ask you whether or not you felt your intuition was like your gut instinct, your heart, or your head. So it's funny because you were talking about the voice in your head, but I'm sure that you would agree with me that sometimes our mind can mislead us when it's our gut instinct and our heart. Yes. So
of course. Yeah. I always follow my heart. And sometimes it's all right, but I think I always follow my heart at the end of the day. I think most people go with their heart, and but I think sometimes if you want a definite guidance, I think the head can be a bit more authoritative, and like saying, go here. The voice in your head might say, no, you definitely need to do this now. If you're not listening, for example, I think it's important to listen as well. And that's a biggie, listening, taking the time to listen, and feeling what's right. I think maybe try starting it with little things to start with, and then for example, let's say just something small. For example, what you're going to have to eat. No, I want this, and that'll be your gut, really. I want this, really. But then you think, oh, hang on, I know it sounds silly, but I cook
Oh, I love
intuitively.
that you
Like
listen to
I
what
fall
your body
awake till I'm
wants.
cooking. That
Yeah.
yeah, I listen. Like for example, like when it comes to like recipes and things, I just follow my instincts. Oh, what do I need
Yeah.
now? What, and I'll just listen, and it will tell me what herbs to
Oh,
put
I love
in the
that.
food, what spices, and I just go by that. I think no, I'm feeling I need some sage today or some thyme. They're just things, and I
Yeah,
always do
that's so
this.
cool.
I just something because cooking is all part. It's like grounding as well, isn't it? Cooking, and it's just
Yeah.
like back to nature, and it's back to your soul. I think like your soul. It's like originally. I think I don't know whether it's ancestral or whatever, but I don't know. I just feel it's coming back to where
Yeah.
you are
Well, it's
naturally
your connection. I
listening.
mean,
Like
the food that we eat is grown from the earth. So it would make sense that, if
exactly,
you're
yeah.
connecting with your, so on the grounding level, yeah, I can totally see that. Although I've never really heard it explained that way. I totally, yeah, I see what you mean by that. And I agree. And I think that, what do you think about this statement, Pamela? I think sometimes when you're listening to your intuition, you don't need to ask anyone else's opinion. You already know this to be
Exactly.
true. Like
Yes.
I'm in the middle of a really big change at the moment
Yeah.
with my business, and I just
Mhm.
know I know it's right because I have no questions. I just know that it's right, and I don't feel like I need anyone's opinion. I don't need to ask anyone. I just know intuitively within self. So would you think that that's also right for you, that when you're making a decision based on your intuition,
Yeah.
you don't need to ask Sarah on
Yeah.
the corner like what she thinks?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes that drives me nuts, when I see people, because your head could be constantly spinning. You're asking this person, that person,
Yeah.
the other person,
That's where you
and it can
get
make you
screwed
dizzy.
up.
You know what I mean? It's just like constantly. I know, just
Yeah.
listen to yourself. Please just take a moment, stay
Yeah.
still, and just listen. Um, and just
Yeah.
trust yourself. You
Yeah.
better than anybody else. You've been with yourself,
Yeah.
since when you were born. You know yourself better than anyone. You don't have to keep asking other people all the time.
Yeah.
Just trust yourself and just go with it. Because your heart will never mislead you. It's there. It loves
Yeah.
you. You're
I love
protected,
that.
and just go with it. Just
Yeah.
trust yourself, because I think this is the problem. Because so many people are just constantly asking other people all the time. They're not trusting. They
Yeah, I
forget.
think
I
they
think I don't know.
forget.
I think it,
No, no,
it
no,
could
I
be a
think they
confidence
do. They
thing.
forget to listen. But you're right, and confidence. Sorry, I know I totally cut you off there, but you're right. It's they forget, and then they don't, yeah, they don't have the confidence, I suppose, to act. Because maybe sometimes some of the things you know to be true are hard.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, no
Yeah.
one says it's going to be easy, but you're given a direction
Yeah.
for a reason. You've got your own journey, your own path, that only
Yeah.
you can do. So you there for a reason, and it's there to help you.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
there
and
to
it
help
kind of
you.
goes back to the law of attraction, which I love talking about all this stuff. It's so I know I'm taking us all over the
Yeah.
place today, girl.
So
So
do I.
sorry, but like the thing
We
too, I
are.
think that when you listen to your intuition and your instincts, and you make these decisions, everything just starts flowing with you. Like for me, like yeah, I
Yeah.
know you're nodding
Yeah.
your head in agreement.
Yeah.
It's totally like that. Even if it's challenging, you just work through it and it flows. There are no hurdles. You're not coming up
Mm.
against no's. You're just coming up against things that are flowing, right? And going in motion. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's all, you have what I like to call happy
Yeah.
coincidences. You might meet the right person. Um, there's some sort of some learning thing that you might need to do comes up, an
Yeah.
opportunity arises. Everything
Yeah.
just happens. Yeah.
It's so cool. How do you attract stuff? Do you have kind of a like a recipe that you follow or do you just put your intention out there? You did talk
Hmm.
about before at the top of the show, that you attracted your dream house. I'm in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
process
Uh-huh.
of manifesting that
Yeah. Yeah.
myself. So yeah, it is
Oh,
exciting.
exciting. That's exciting. Because you can, the
Yeah.
world is your oyster. So basically, I visualize exactly what I want
Yeah.
to the detail. Um, Honestly, it was so much to the detail you wouldn't believe. And it was like the lampshades, the wallpaper. It was absolutely everything. even the garden, and I just had this knowing that it was going to happen. I just knew it. And then I got to work, because you can't just sit there daydreaming about it all the time. You've actually got to put the action in. So I knew, for example, at the time, I think I was in between jobs. I was in banking for a long time, and then I was in between jobs, and then I took this job. But it was almost like I was intentionally had a purpose. I knew that I was going to do this, and I was going to save X amount, and I'm going to get a house. And literally, I think I started this job in June, and by next June, we were moved in. Literally, it happened so quickly. Within 6 months, I think, we'd seen the house, and we just knew. And it had the exact same lampshade, light shades, exact same wallpaper I picked out. Absolutely everything. The garden had a pond with koi carping. It was just the road. I know this sounds crazy, but I was looking at these houses, and I was imagining walking down this road. I was imagining walking down this road. And when we actually walked down the road, I felt like a bit like a holiday atmosphere. I loved it because it felt so relaxing and peaceful. And I thought, oh, this is like holiday home. But I think, and it was all by chance as well, because the estate agent, we were looking at another house, and that for some reason got cancelled or something. And they said, oh, by the way, while you're in this area, pop into here. So, oh, okay. So we popped into here, and I was like, oh my God, I feel as if this is a deja vu almost. I feel as if I've walked down this road before. And it was just amazing. And we would step through. And they always say that as soon as you step through the door, you know that it's your home. You know that it's going to be. And that's exactly what happened. Felt it, and it was just right. It was so funny. It really was. And then we made an offer, and it was slightly below the asking price, and I had a good feeling about it. And even though they turned down offers before that were lower, I don't know, I just felt a connection. I know this is going to sound silly. I don't know if you might want to put this off the record, but I literally, even while I was in the house being shown around, I went and used the bathroom, and I know this sounds silly, but it was almost like to grounds, like I felt like I was home there. So it was almost like I felt like I was home there.
That's so funny. That can stay on the record. There is nothing wrong with that.
Talk about making yourself feel at home, literally. So, and then we got accepted, and that was it. So it was just amazing. So that was just visualizing it, feeling it, but knowing it. I think knowing it.
I saw this movie ages ago. I can't remember what it's called now, but in it, they were talking about gratitude. It was like a Hollywood movie. Anyway, they're talking about gratitude, and the woman gets in a cab, and she was saying something about gratitude, and the cab driver or someone like that, he goes, I always say thank you, more please. So whenever I'm in sync and things are happening, I'm always like, thank you, more please. So exactly. So feel free to take that on. I just think it's so good, because I want more of this. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, this is it. I think the gratitude is really important. I mean, when you're in a position of gratitude, your heart is open, in an open space to receive more, receive love, receive the good things, and I think that's really important. Like you get more, they say you get more what you focus on. So focus on the good things,
Exactly. Can we talk a little bit more about angels before we kind of wrap up? Because I think that'll probably take us for a while. I love the angels. I've always connected, with that. There's just something, nurturing and safe and protected, and it's just welcoming and everything. I love that so much. So can you talk to me a bit about, I'm under the impression you've had some experiences with angels. Would you feel free? Would you be okay to share some of those stories, Pamela?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. One time we lived in this flat, and my partner was meant to go on night duty, and he didn't at the time. For some reason, I don't know what happened, but for some reason he decided No, I don't know why, but I'm not going to go in tonight, and I don't know why. Anyway, so middle of the night, it was. I just see. At first, I assumed it was him because I see a glimmer of light above the door. But I hear a voice. It was a voice waking me up, and I was like really asleep. I was ignoring the voice. Like I was going, no, I need to sleep. And it was like prodding. It was almost like prodding you, you know. And it was getting more and more like almost urgent. Okay, and then in the end, it said, "Okay, if you don't get up now, because this is what I mean by like urgency and direction and like authoritative, even if you don't get up now, all your things will be gone." I was like, "What?" And this made me sat up straight up, like, and I see the light and I can hear things moving, like, and I think, "Oh my God!" I thought it was my partner, and then I turned around, out it wasn't, because he was in the same bed. So like, then I nudged him, and I thought, "I think someone's in the flat." I was like, "What?" And then he sort of like we got up, and this is quite, I don't know, he might want this off the record, I don't know. But basically he was Starkers, and
there is no problem with that either, girl. You just tell your story.
And he grabbed this saucepan, and there was a man sitting, making himself comfortable. He was so comfortable, it was unbelievable. He was literally on the sofa, lights on. He may as well have made himself a cup of tea. He was just so comfortable, relaxing there, going through the stuff. Like, but anyway, obviously seeing my partner, naked man, saucepan in his hand, chasing after him. He legged it and dropped my camera on the way out. And but if I hadn't have had that message from the angel, I would have got up. And it turned out the next day, I found out that the local doctor's surgery had been broken into, and they had I don't know if they'd stolen some drugs and stuff from there. So it fit the description of the same man. So he was doing his rounds. But if I never had that message, I wouldn't have. I would hate to think, what would have happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. That's part of it as well, I guess. It's like, you're so used to listening to your intuition and to understanding, what's real for you, because, sometimes our voice in our mind talks and it's like, it's BS, right? It's like, no, you don't need to believe everything you think. Yeah. That's not, this, you don't need to, no. But there are cases where it's like, this is legitimate stuff happening here.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it was the fact it was so urgent.
And it was like, no, do not. Yeah. So that's so cool. Did you also have an experience in relation to an operation?
That's right. Yes. It was interesting. It was on the way to an operation, and funny enough, my son was in the back seat, and he said he saw two angels, and that's how we knew that I was going to be okay in this operation. But he didn't tell me this until after the operation. So I went in, and obviously you get nervous and everything, and my mother died in hospital, so even though my parents were nurses, I was still always a bit apprehensive about, am I gonna come out the other side, kind of thing. And then when I woke up, I stirred, and from the anaesthetic and everything, but I saw like something flapping in the corner, and it was white, and it was flapping, and I was thinking, oh, it's just the general anaesthetic, it must be. But then I looked again, and it was like trying to get my attention. And then when I looked closer, it was like the corner of an angel wing. It was white, and it was just flapping. And it was reassuring to me. When I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah. I know I'm all right. I know everything's gonna. And it was just like reassuring me. And to me, I felt it was saying to me that we've been looking after you through it. And it was just so beautiful, reassuring. It really was. And I was so grateful, and I was saying thanking all the nurses and all the people. They thought that's a crazy lady. They probably thought it's just the effects of the anaesthetic. But I really meant it, because I said, I know you've really helped it, And then I remember at the time, because I was just almost finishing my second book, spiritual self-help book. And I remember saying to them at the time, before I went under the anesthetic, I remember saying to the time, I've got to get better, you know, because I've got to finish this book, because people
Yeah.
need to read this book. There's a message I need to share in this book. So I have to get better. And I remember saying them at that time. And so that, I don't know, but seeing that angel help me through it, and I don't know, it was just beautiful. And then later on, then my son said what he saw. He saw, I was praying for you, and I saw two angels like behind you, as if they were protecting you. This was in the back seat. You could see it and I knew that you were going to be okay. That's how he knew that I was going to be okay. But yeah,
you talked before about seeing orbs and things like that. What do angels look like? The way we see them in books, with wings and you know, tall figures, or have you seen different angels and they show up in different ways? Like, could an orb be an angel possibly?
Oh, that's interesting. I've never thought of that actually. I think they're different. I don't know. I get the feeling they're different. The angels I've seen have got a very strong presence. And I think a lot of people think that they're like all fluffy and light and things, but I think they're very powerful. They can be very powerful and very strong. They can be cheeky too, but I think they have a very strong presence. Purposeful. But I also think they've got a sense of humor as well. They can have a sense of humor. Like, for example, if you say I'm going to do this, and they'll say like, are you sure you're going to do that? I don't know. There's a little, I don't know. There's like a charm and a cheekiness. They've got personality, and I think they've got different personalities.
And maybe they show up how their personality is, or how you might be accessible, or how they might be accessible to you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, make it relatable so you're likely to listen. Yeah, I think so, because if they're trying to get your attention, they want to do it in a way that you're open to it and that relate to you. You know, if you don't like sternness and authority, then they probably come across a different way, maybe, you know, whatever works.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we all have a guardian angel, and they know you, you know, they know you personally, so they'll adapt
I
to
love
that.
knowing they're thinking that way, you know, knowing that and thinking that way, that, you know, if there's someone that's, you know, my spirit team that's got my back. And exactly. They all do. It's so cool. So can we talk a bit about, you know, just before we wrap up, you did talk earlier about asking for help. And I feel that, you know, do they help with anything, in your opinion? Like, or are there things that they go, no, you just figure it out on your own? Or can you ask for help on anything? And then how do you know when you've received that help?
I think they can help. I think they're waiting to help you. You know, they want to help you. And I don't think there's anything too big or too small. But sometimes they will kick you up the butt, really, and say, oh, you know, you just be lazy now. You can do this yourself, and stand aside, see how you're doing, and then if they need to come along, they will. You know, that type of thing.
Do you think you can also ask without actually properly asking? And this is kind of a loaded question, so I'll just quickly tell you what I mean by that. So I got made redundant from my job I was in for almost 7 years at the end of March this year, 2020, depending on when people listen to it. So through COVID. And and it was funny because a couple weeks before that, I remember thinking in my mind, I was like, how am I ever going to get my business off the ground if I'm working 50 hours for this other company, you know, every week, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, boom, made redundant. And so when it happened, I was really shocked, but I went, oh, okay, I did this. So.
Yes, absolutely. But actually, it's a great opportunity. You asked the question, how?
Oh,
I think that's such a magical question to ask. How?
Right. Oh,
As soon as you asked
yeah.
how, right, everything gets to work.
Yeah.
How to put this into place, how
Thank
to
you
make
for
this happen.
that.
I just think
I'm
it's such a
gonna be more aware of that. How can I do XYZ? How can I attract my dream house easier? How Yes, thank you for that, Pamela. That was really helpful. I mean, it's all been helpful, but that in particular
yeah.
was really good because I think that sometimes I don't always ask how when I ask for help. And I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just it sets everything in motion, how it
Yeah.
changes
And do you
everything,
think you
I
kind of
think.
let your expectations go for how? So, because how might work out in a really different way than what you originally thought, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to be open to it, be flexible. Sometimes it's the least things you expect work out in
Yeah.
wonderful ways. So be open and be flexible. Because it's full of surprise. Life is full
Yeah.
of surprises too. So embrace these because um, these happy surprises are meant for a reason, and we don't always know what the
Yeah.
bigger picture is. So just know that you have a place in it, and we might not all have it figured out, but that there is a reason for it, and you have a purpose for it in this big
Yeah.
picture.
And you are where you're meant to be, or you would be somewhere different, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. You are exactly where you're meant to be. So while others are seem to be doing this, that, and the other, and they seem to be so far ahead, and you seem just realize that you are where you need to be right now,
Yeah.
and everything is happening it's
Yeah.
always the right time. It's always the
Yeah.
perfect
It's
time
funny
for you.
because, as humans, we're like, I want everything now. But
Yeah,
not all the
yeah,
chess pieces are in place yet, right? You need to wait for XYZ to happen
yeah,
before
yeah.
that falls in and that slots in and that. Yeah, it's so cool. It's so intricate as well, and isn't it? Yeah, it's so neat.
Absolutely.
So, just before we kind of wrap up here, one thing that you did mention before is when you mentioned the angel in the operation room, you saw the wings, and it made me think about signs. Do you ever look for signs, and do you ask for
Yeah.
signs? And are there ways that we can get, like, for me, I've always chased hearts. So if I see hearts in anything, I just know that's for me. And lately, sometimes if I feel that I've been
Mm.
needing a sign, I sometimes see rainbows and I go, thank you, more please. What about you? Do you look for signs? Do you put an intention of wanting to see something?
Yes,
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah, I do. And sometimes it can be, I could ask a question, and then I'll hear a certain song in the radio, and we'll
Oh,
have the answer to it.
yeah.
Or um, obviously seeing
Yes.
feathers, another one. You might not get the sign straight away though, so you have to
Right.
be aware of that too. Patient, it might come up in a dream. You might get a sign in your dream, a message, or um, an an advert on TV. I know it sounds crazy, but I remember asking for something, and I didn't hear. Then all of a sudden, I heard someone on the advert jumped up and said the exact line that I thought, oh my god, that's confirmation. This is
Yeah.
what I need to do. This is what I need to do, and just unexpected things like that. Or I might see a bird. For me, it's a blackbird. When I see a blackbird, it's like I know everything's going to be okay. It's just like I think everyone has their own
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
thing, and for me, it's that. Um, you know, um, yeah, something that's personal to you, or you could even smell a certain scent.
Oh,
You know, um, that's another thing that happens. I notice for me as well. Um, if I needed some reassurance, I don't know. I've had that happen before, and actually, that's starting to happen more often. I've noticed. I'll suddenly, and even though I wouldn't be wearing any perfume or anything, and nobody else is, I'll smell this scent. And I remember one time I was smelling this scent, and I said, "Actually, I can smell lavender. I can smell lavender." And then I'll call my son. I said, "Can you smell anything?" And he'll say, yeah, and he'll tell me, yeah, I can smell, and he'll say,
Right.
confirm it. Oh, so it's not just me, I can
Yeah.
smell
So
this.
how would the
You know,
smell
it's
give
like,
you a sign, or is it just a
suspicious.
confirmation that you're not alone or you're on the right path? Because sometimes for me, I feel like they're markers, like, oh, there's a random heart in a leaf or on the street or whatever, that's like a marker. So I just know that I'm on my right path.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think with a scent is like another person to me. I think
Yeah.
it's another spirit. And I do think that is definitely, you're not on your own,
Yeah.
definitely. It's like, I totally know this. And because we're not on our own, we're surrounded with our angels and spiritual guides, and and even if you feel like owning like the real world, you're not. You've got a whole backing behind you, your
Yeah.
cheerleaders.
Yeah. Why do you think we're here on Earth?
It's $1 million question. I think we're here to make the impossible possible. I think we're like spiritual beings on a physical plane, and I think everything works in connection. I think the spirit and the physical put together, that's where the magic happens.
That's why we're co-creating, right? Do you think we're co-creating?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too, because especially when you ask for help, the how that's coming from, I feel it's coming from elsewhere. Yeah.
But you have to take the action as well. You have to put it into action to make it happen. And then that way you're helping others as well. You can't just keep it to yourself. You're helping others too.
Yeah, I think so. So thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, Pamela, that I didn't ask you or we didn't bring up?
No,
you and I can talk forever about this.
I think we've got a wealth of, wealth of
I know, it really
topics.
was.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Been great. So I hope that maybe we can get you on the show again another time, because I know that, there's so many things that you do.
That'll be brilliant.
Definitely before you come on next time, though, I'll read one of your books, because I always like to interview authors when I've read their books. But I know that you and I kind of connected quickly and made this happen super fast before I had a chance to do that. So if somebody was going to read one of your books, which one would you recommend that they start with, and why?
I would recommend reading Building Castles in the Sky, How to Make Your Dreams Come True, because in there it is all about the mind, body, spirit connection, and it is all how the spiritual side can make things happen in the real world.
I love that. All right. Well, I'll put a link to all your show, to everything, all your socials and things like that as well in the show notes, so people can find out more about you. And what's next for you?
What's next? I'm working on my next book. I'm also working on a program. Because I've been hearing so many lovely messages from my readers, and how they want to work with me more. So I didn't anticipate this. So this is a complete surprise to me, because when I first wrote the book, I thought it was just one book. Then all of a sudden, readers want to work more with me. So I'm putting things in place, so opportunities that readers can work with me as well.
Well, that's really exciting.
Can reach more people and help more
watch
people.
This space, and of course follow Pamela on social, so that you can keep up with her journey, and we'll have her back because we get along very well and I like her. Thanks, Pamela.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Hi, thanks so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave us a review where you listen to your podcasts and share it with your friends. Thank you. New episodes every Thursday.